Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to answer a very serious question from a viewer. This person asked me, and they're not the first person to ask me this. Let me say that up front. I get asked this quite a bit. But they asked, do I think the gun community is welcoming to minorities? Blacks, gays, Hispanics, etc. Women even though women are really not a minority. But that was one of the ones they mentioned. Well, to answer that question, I'm going to have to first say, well, which gun community are you talking about? Are you talking about the actual gun community at large? You know, the people throughout America who own firearms and are concerned about their Second Amendment rights, etc. Or are you talking about like YouTube and Facebook, etc. You know, the online gun community. Because if you're talking about the online gun community, no, they are not very accepting of minorities. They are very racist. They are very homophobic. They are very misogynistic. You know, just all kinds of things. They don't like Hispanic people. They don't like Muslims. Although I can't blame them too much on the Muslim thing. That's a choice. Muslim is a choice. That's not something that you have to be if you don't want to be. So I don't really consider that the same thing. Different topic though. But like I say, the online community is not all that accepting. I think most people who are online are, but the online community tends to be represented by the loudest and the most obnoxious. Those are the ones that tend to be the most vocal online, on YouTube, etc. I mean, look at me. Case in point, loud, obnoxious. They tend to dominate the overall experience online. And we know a lot of people love to get online and hide behind a computer and say and do things they would never have the balls to do in real life. I experience that all the time. There's people who come on the computer, send me nasty emails, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, hey, won't you come in a live chat? We'll talk about it. They would never consider doing that because they are cowards hiding behind a keyboard. This is, you have to remember, this online community we're part of, it is a safe haven for people who in their real life are frustrated and shat upon and just feel like they have no power. And they're timid, usually. So they get to be online and be something that they wish they were. They get to pretend they're the big tough guy. And we all know they're not. And it's not as much threatening anymore as it used to be. It used to be like, oh my God, these people are just mean. Wow, they must be horrible people. Nowadays, with experience and time, we've all realized that most of these tough guys on the internet are not scary, they're sad. But since they are such a prevalent force online, and since they seem to be very prevalent in the gun community, there's something about the gun community that attracts people who in real life feel powerless. And it's not a mystery what it is. It does. Like people who are bullied in high school, you're like, yep, they're going to be a police officer when they grow up. It's that kind of same thing. So the online gun community is not very accepting of minorities. Black, gay, whatever, or even women who, like I said, I don't really consider a true minority, but when it comes to the gun community, they are a minority. So the answer to that question is no, if we're talking about online. Now, if we're talking about just in general, everybody out there, like I said, that's a different story. The gun community at large is made up of just everyday people. More so than the online community as far as their vocal members. And since the people at large, you know, the only way you're really going to hear their opinion is face to face, those same people that are trolls and monsters on the internet are just like, oh, yep, in person. Believe me, I have met people that have been rude as hell to me in person. And then I go to SHOT Show and someone will say, hey, do you know who that is right there? That's this screen name. And I'm like, well, they're a total asshole on me online. And I'll go over and introduce myself and they about shit their pants. So the only way you ever meet people that are at large, like I said, are in person. And those people tend to be more reasonable in person. The same type of people that are rude on the internet just don't have that in them in person. And most people aren't like that. They're not the same people from the internet. They're just people. And are there some racists in the gun community? Of course there are. There's racists in every community. Are there slightly higher percentage of racists in the gun community? I would say there probably is. In my experience, there has been. There's more racists, more homophobes, etc. But it's not like it's, overwhelming. I think it's a lot to do with our demographics. Mostly men, a lot of them older. Older people tend to be more racist. That just kind of works out there. So I do think the general gun community is a little racist, and maybe a little more racist than, like, say, if you went to a convention or a Star Trek convention. Well, yeah, the people there are probably going to be less racist than the gun community by a tiny percentage. But, like I said, still not an overwhelming percentage. But I do think, and this was the second part of their question, is it dangerous for minorities in the gun community? Well, online, the only danger really is to have your feelings hurt, I guess. Or be threatened, your mental health. The only dangers I would see would be in person. So that would be dealing with the gun community, like I said, at large. And would most people out there ever harm someone for being a minority in the gun community, gay, black, whatever? No, I don't think they would. I don't think there's much of a danger there. And plus, if they're black or gay and in the gun community, they're probably armed. So most people are going to be nice to them in person. So I don't really think there's that much physical danger to minorities in the gun community, period. Online or offline, because like I say, online, the people that are mean to you, they ain't going to hurt you. Especially not online. And if they ever met you in real life, they'd probably run the other way. So I don't think there's any worry there. But there is a danger that I do want to address, and that is a danger that a lot of people face, whether you're gay or black or whatever. And it's something a lot of people want to avoid, and that is you get pigeonholed. You become, for lack of a better word, a token. And I'm not just saying that for black. I'm also saying it for Hispanics, for gays, etc. We all know when the NRA finally went and said, look, we've got a black guy and a gay guy, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And then those people forever were labeled as the NRA's black guy and the NRA's gay guy. And they're pigeonholed because of that. Now, you might not think that's a bad thing. So why would people care? Well, I know a lot of people online that don't want to let people know they're black because they think it makes people who are reacting to them act differently, either good or bad. They try to be too nice to them or too cruel to them. Or it makes them not take what they say seriously if they know they're a minority, whatever. So they don't want to let people know. And it's the same thing in the real gun community. Unfortunately, if you're black and you're a vocal, visible member of the gun community, it's kind of hard to hide that. Like Cullion Noir can't just say, no, I'm just dark complected. I'm actually, a white guy. You can't say that. You've got no choice but to say, yes, I'm a black man. And not only because you're visibly black, you have to fight those stereotypes that come with that, especially once you've been pigeonholed by one group or another as being the black guy, the black gun guy. And the problem with that is if you get labeled the black gun guy or the gay gun guy or the Asian gun guy. Remember the NRA has one of those too. I think they have a gay Asian guy, actually, they had. When you get pigeonholed like that, people start to think your opinion only matters when you're talking about subjects that are stereotypically linked to that subgroup. Like they only think, well, yeah, that black guy's opinion is only important when it comes to urban stuff or, black culture stuff. But that doesn't speak for me or to me. Same thing like the gay guy. Oh, the only thing he's good for is, the gay side of things. So there's no real reason to listen to him any other time. That's one of the biggest dangers I think people in the gun community face. That's why a lot of people don't want to be out. And liberals, another one. A lot of people, I know a lot of gun channels that come across as very conservative online who are card-carrying big business liberals. But they would never say that online because they feel they'll be either pigeonholed, like I'm pigeonholed a little bit as a liberal, because I am open about that. Now, if I was black, I wouldn't tell you. I'm not going to tell you everything. But because sometimes it's none of your business. That's the better thing about being liberal or gay over being black or Hispanic. You can say It's none of your business. And try to avoid some of the issues. But getting off topic there. But like I say, that is one of the dangers of being in the gun community and being a minority. There's not really any physical danger. And no, the online community is not all that accepting of minorities. But there is that risk of being labeled as the blank, the token gay, the token black, the token Asian, whatever. And that lessens you as a person, actually, I think. And I know people in the community that have faced that, and it's just not a positive thing. And I wish people wouldn't do it, but it is kind of human nature to do it. But it really, I think, not only does it degrade the person, but it also weakens their message because like I say, people start saying, well, yeah, he said this, but I'm not even going to really consider it because that comes from a black perspective or a gay perspective, or he's this or he's that. And it makes a lot of people who otherwise, especially the liberal thing, if they go like, oh yeah, that's the liberal perspective, I ain't even looking into that, it makes people intellectually less curious because since they have an issue with your position or who you are or what you are in their opinion, they disregard your message a lot quicker. And that's one thing I think a lot of minorities face in the gun community. And I think we need to stop doing that. We are silencing a lot of people who would speak up if it wasn't for the fact they don't feel they're going to be accepted. Because, a lot of these people aren't accepted in their own communities. If you're black and you're pro-gun, not only do you face it online from pro-gun people who don't like blacks, but you also get it from your own community that doesn't like guns. Because you got to remember there are large numbers of black urban communities, even suburban communities, where guns have been demonized as only gangbangers have guns and guns are just for drug dealers and violence, etc. So when you come out as a black gun owner or pro-gun person, your family might not be accepting of that. And it's the same thing in the gay community. If you come out as being, I'm a pro-gun gay guy, your community is liable to say, oh, we don't like guns. We're liberals. We're blah, 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 which is common. We don't want anything to do with you. Blah. So you're not only being not accepted online and pigeonholed in the gun community itself at large, but you're also being rejected by your own community in a lot of these cases. So, and because we're like that, like I said, there's so many good voices for the gun message out there that are silent because they don't want to start a channel, because they don't want to face the racism. They don't want to face the homophobia. They don't want to face the bias against people who are not right-wing Republicans. So a lot of people stay silent. And way too often, the people who actually do speak up, they get stuck in their little hole, their little pigeonhole. They get labeled, like I said, a token. They get immediately labeled as that person's perspective is, not mine because they're this. Like they have to be totally different than me if they're a different color or a different sexuality. They couldn't possibly say something that I would find true or interesting. So even though I think it's safe in the gun community for anybody, it isn't all that welcoming of a place, especially online for people. And it is a big step for a lot of people to come into the gun community and be vocal because of that. And as far as staying a viable whole person and not being treated as something less than, treated like you're only your color or only your sexuality and that's the only time you matter, that is a very high risk. And that also, I think, is something we need to stop because it keeps a lot of good people from being vocal in our community. All right, everybody, with that out of the way, I want to move on to my favorite part of the show. I think everyone knows what it is. It's gun talk. But tonight, before I really get into gun talk, I want to answer a question. A lot of people ask me, oh, why do you always look under the desk at the beginning of your videos? What's wrong with you? Do you have a problem? Are you paranoid? What is it? What's the problem? Do you think there's going to be werewolves under there? I'm like, no, don't be stupid. Werewolves don't hide under desks. They don't do, they're too big to do that. I look under desks for one reason, and that is possums, or opossums to be more precise, but where I come from, we just call them possums. And I have a little phobia of possums. I've had some bad experiences with them. One really bad experience with them at work one time. Maybe I'll tell that story sometime on Patreon. I've told it in my live chats before, but I don't like possums. I definitely don't like them getting too close to me under my desk. Don't trust them. Possums are not trustworthy. That is why I always look under my desk before I start a chat. But now that I say that, I'm thinking, did I remember to look under my desk at the beginning of this chat? I'm sure I did, but I don't know if I did or I didn't. I better look under there now just to make sure. Uh-oh. Oh dear.